Last time out on the Motorsport New Circuit Rally Championship, last season's champion Chris West returned, but sadly mechanical difficulties ruled him out early on. Frank Bird and Jack Morton charged to their fourth straight overall victory. Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins also secured their fourth class win of the season and cemented their overall championship lead. Chris Rook and Steve Harris topped the pile in Class B to close the championship lead. Let's see how they get on this time.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to round 7 of the Motorsport News Circuit Rally Championship. You are joining us at Anglesey Circuit and it's going to be quite a lovely day. No rain is forecast. For the first time this season we are going to have a dry round and it is a spectacular entry. I cannot wait to see how it unfolds throughout the day. Paul, let us know what's going on, please.
Thanks, Sam. Ron Walker and Amy McCubbin had a bit of a nightmare in the final stage at Snetterton last time out, but they still lead the championship and will be looking for a solid result here to continue scoring points. Adam and Ray Ripper are second, and James Hardy and Nick Wilkins also have an outside chance of the title. In Class B, Paul Gorge and Daniel Hurst lead the class championship, but it's still very, very close with Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish and Mark Peterson and Jim Bowie and Chris Rook and Steve Harris all in the mix. We've got 10 cars entered into the class with 4 local drivers in addition to the 6 championship contenders. Class C always gives us some good battles with the championship regulars Kathy Stewart and Colin Stevens in the Talbot Lotus Sunbeam right at the top. They'll have Mike English and Andy Robinson in their lurid Ford Escort Mark II to deal with. Mike Taylor and Martin Haggart lead the championship in class and overall in their Lotus Talbot Sunbeam, and we'll be looking for some solid results to hold top spot. But Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins won at Snetterton and they'll be looking to continue their run of success. Paul Morrow and Callum Cross are also consistent runners, so you can't rule them out either. In Class D2, Frank Bird and Jack Morton have won 4 on a trot and are looking to make it 5 this time out. But Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth will lead the title battle and are also out in a new car, the Ford Fiesta R5, so it'll be interesting to see how they get on with the new toy. Here's the plan for stages 1 and 2. The cars will start in the pit lane, heading out onto the track for 2 loops of the southern part of the circuit before heading up the hill and into the complex at the top of the circuit around the old Army training camp buildings, going from tarmac to concrete to gravel and then finish at the top of the pit lane at the back of the paddock. Frank Bird and Jack Morton led the cars off the line as they started stage 1 and they would set an impressive pace, but would be run close by Roger Moran and Dan Golding in their Skoda R5. We join Richard Wells and Kelvin Holdsworth as they blast off in their new Ford Fiesta R5 to start stage 1. They'd put in a solid time to go 4th quickest, but a consistent finish is all they would need for their championship aspirations. That said, they weren't hanging around either. Mike Taylor and Martin Haggart were leading the championship coming into this round. However, their rally did not get off to the best of starts. As we join them on board, you can hear that something is definitely not right with their Lotus Talbot Sunbeam, and sadly, they would retire at the end of this stage. Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins got their day off to a flyer, setting the fastest time in D1, going 7 seconds faster than their nearest competitor, Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman. Firing her Lotus Sunbeam off the line is Kathy Stewart as she leads Class C in what was also a close battle. 6 championship points is all that separates Kathy and Colin from Mike English and Andy Robinson in the Turquoise Terror. The championship battle in Class B is by far the most intriguing. Daniel Hurst and Paul Gorge lead by 6 points, but Chris Rook and Steve Harris and Mark Peterson and Jim Bowie are tied on 150 points. Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish cannot be ruled out either and will be dark horses this weekend. In Class A, Ron Walker and Amy McCubbin lead the championship and they have a healthy margin, but they will still have to keep it on the road.
Mike, just talk us through this morning. It's not been a good morning, has it really?
No, a water rail's fractured on the inlet manifold and a water hose has blown off when the bracket snapped, which means we dumped all the water on the first stage, came in early, got a stage maximum, then when we tried to fix it, we ran out of time. So unfortunately we went OTL, so this will now become our dropped round.
And as much as I hate to bring it up, you're currently leading the overall championship. This morning is going to affect that, isn't it?
Yes, we will definitely drop back down, depending on who finishes today. we could be down as low as 4th or 5th. We'll see. All to play at Donington.
We go on board now for the start of stage 2 with Frank Bird and Jack Morton as we focus on the D2 runners in this stage. The two of them would have an amazing stage, clocking up a time 29 seconds faster than their nearest rival to have a comfortable 30-second cushion after stage 2. Next on the road is the Skoda R5 of Roger Moran and Dan Golding, as they had a very good first stage but would not be able to maintain the pace on stage 2, but nevertheless holding on to second place. Third in the running is the Ford Fiesta R5 of Rob Hughes and Sean Cunniff, as they had a nightmare event this time last year after contact ruled them out, and they'll be looking for a solid result this time out. Let's join Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth on board now as they take on stage 2. They're clearly getting used to their new car now, and they set a time 12 seconds faster than on stage 1, keeping them firmly in contention in 4th place. He's even doing a bit of drifting. Go on, lad. Peter Smith and Patrick Walsh were regulars last season, but we haven't seen much of them recently, so it's lovely to see them back out here competing at Anglesey. They'd finished the stage in 5th place. Here's another Fiesta R5, this time in brilliant blue, in the hands of Simon Bowen and Richard Robinson. They'd finished the stage in 6th place, 6 seconds behind Smith and Walsh. They get style points for that finish. In 7th, it's the first of the two identically liveried Fiesta R5s, this one in the hands of Chris Ford and Matt Daniels. Performing an almost perfect handbrake turn were Neil Roskell and Jonathan Kennedy in their Subaru Impreza. I said almost perfect. They'll nail it next time. In 9th place, another Subaru, this one in the hands of Adrian Spencer and Lauren Hewitt. Sadly, they'd retire after stage 4 with front end damage from contact. Stuart and Louise Gilts round out the top 10 in their Mitsubishi Evo. On this stage, they'd finish the day in 8th place in class. We last saw Jade Pavley and Hannah McKillop in their Subaru Impreza at Oulton Park, so it's lovely to see them back. They'd have a solid day and would finish 9th in class. Here's Steve Reed and Lee Clark in their Subaru Impreza, which looks great in blue. They'd also have a great day finishing 10th after the last stage. Last but not least, it's the silver Subaru Impreza of Matthew Harwood and Gavin Irvine. Extending his lead in Class D1 was Barry Morris, who went 5 seconds faster than Mark Kelly. In Class C, Chris Berry and Daniel Petrie were the quickest, with Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish leading the way in Class B. Finally, Dean Rowlands and Kai Alcock headed the times in Class A. Here's Sam with the interviews.
Rob, Sean, it is great to have you back at this event. We didn't have the best of finishes last year, but we're out to take them on today, aren't we?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Last year didn't go to plan, so come back to fight another year. But yeah, up to now, it's going well. A couple of changes for stage 2. Car's a lot better again now, so yeah, fight's on.
Look at one of the championship rounds, because we have missed you. Talk us through the car. Has anything changed on the car since the last time we saw you?
No, not really. Some just basically setup changes, just getting it to how I feel best in it. Like I said, we've just made some more changes, and it is just a massive learning curve. But we just keep trying. If you don't try, you don't know. We're here to learn, and every event that we do, we learn a little bit more, even together, because the car is completely different to what we had before.
There's never one thing that's the same in this car. There's always something different and throwing something different at you. And you know, Rich has only had his car since Sunday, and he's doing a good job up to now. So, and we're a year and a bit into this car now, and we're still learning it now. And there's so much to do. And we're thankful we've got a good team behind us, and with the sponsors and Rob's parents and stuff like that now. So we can just keep doing what we're doing, and touch wood for a good finish at the end of the day.
Richard, it's all new for you today. I know that you've tested in this car, but this is your first event, isn't it? How are we feeling?
Oh yeah, really getting to grips with it now. Picked the car up last weekend, quickly trying to turn it around, and then testing here at the track day on Friday, and then going out today to compete. So yeah, big learning curve for sure, but enjoying it.
And we're a couple of stages in now, but I mean, when we've spoken previously about this, you said that it was just an absolute dream come true. You know, you've got it now. We're a couple of stages in, so we're getting to grips with it, aren't we?
Yeah, you know, obviously the R5 for me has always been the pinnacle, and having the Evo just to get to grips with four-wheel drive, and then having the opportunity to get this car was, you know, absolutely a dream come true. So 2 stages in. First stage, I as nervous as anything, but second stage time seems to be a bit better. So hopefully we can just gradually improve throughout the day and get some points, which is what we want to do for the championship. But yeah, it's quite a lot different to the Evo, so I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Great stuff, Sam. Let's look at the results in Class A after 2 stages. Anglesey is a tough place, and we've already lost 2 competitors. But as we've just seen, Dion Rowlands and Kai Alcock lead the way by 19 seconds from Ron Walker and Amy McCubbin. Adam and Ray Ripper are third, 10 seconds further behind. In Class B, Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish lead a very competitive group with Daniel Davis and Liam McCallion, and Chris Rook and Steve Harris joint second, 5 seconds behind Ashley. Mark Peterson and Jim Bowie are only 3 seconds further behind in 4th. This one's going to be very close. In Class C, Chris Berry and Daniel Petrie lead by 9 seconds from Kathy Stewart and Colin Stevens, with Mike English and Andy Robinson 3 seconds further behind them. They only have a 1 second gap over 4th. This is also going to be very, very close. In Class D1, Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins have a 12-second advantage over Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman. Paul Morrow and Callum Cross are lurking in 3rd place, 46 seconds behind, but are poised to take advantage of any mistakes. Frank Bird and Jack Morton have got the biggest advantage of anyone with 30 seconds over Roger Moran and Dan Golding. Rob Hughes and Sean Cunniff are 3rd, 2 seconds behind the Skoda. Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth hold 4th, 46 seconds off the lead. Let's see what that does for the overall standings. Frank Bird leads now by 30 seconds over Roger Moran and Dan Golding. They have a 2-second advantage over Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins, who are tied, with Rob Hughes and Sean Cunniff in 3rd. Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman are 5th, 44 seconds off the lead. The sun is shining and the weather is looking good, but there's still a strong wind to contend with. Let's look at the stage plan for stages 3 and 4. The competitors will start in a very similar manner to stage 1 and 2, but on lap 2 they will take the rest of the circuit, heading up onto the Army Training Complex, back down and then entering the top of the pit lane before rejoining the southern part of the circuit. Let's focus on the D1 runners, where Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins lead the way, and that Darien seems very well suited to the Anglesey stages. In second place is the Ford Escort of Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman. They would actually finish the stage quickest in class, clawing back 1 second on Barry and Tom, who still lead by 11 seconds. Paul Morrow and Callum Cross are 3rd in class in their similar Mark II Escort, having a good run on stage 2. They've consistently been 2nd in the championship, but when drop scores come into account, that could cause them some issues, so they need a good result today. Up next are Seamus Morris and Jarlath Kelly in their Darien T90 GT Plus. They'd be running 4th at the end of the stage, 5 seconds off Paul and Callum, but sadly would retire on stage 4. Championship runners Alistair Staples and Neil Jones were up next. They missed Cadwell and Knockhill earlier in the season, but a good result here with 7th place at the end of the day gave them a healthy points boost. Dave Allmark and Dave Tortoshell would finish this stage in 6th in their Mark II Escort, but would rise through the ranks to finish the day 5th fastest. Just behind them, though, were championship runners Martin Hodgson and Tony Jones in their blue Mark II Escort. They'd have a very good day rising through the ranks to finish 3rd on the road, but 2nd of the championship runners. In 8th place after this stage was Dave Orritt and Tom Parks in yet another Ford Escort. They finished the day in 10th place in class. Looks good, that, doesn't it? Terry Clark and Philip Harrison finished the stage in 9th place, but would rise through to 6th. You'll never guess what Robert Power and Georgina Smith are driving. It's a Ford Escort. They'd finished the day 8th. Here's Phil Jobson and Chris Sheridan. They'd finished the stage just outside the top 10 in 11th place. Running out of place and down in the order are Stephen and Jack Tilburn after they had an alternator issue earlier in the day. Finishing in 13th at the end of this stage was Gareth Richards and Ian Jones, but sadly they would retire with suspension damage. Also on the retirements list were Brendan Smith and Katrina Jones in their Darien, pulling up on stage 6. Dion Rowlands and Kai Alcock would extend their lead in Class A by 15 seconds on this stage in an incredible effort. Chris Rook and Steve Harris would take over the lead in Class B from Ashley Morris, overhauling a 5-second deficit to go 10 seconds in front. Chris Berry and Daniel Petrie continued to lead in Class C with a 15-second lead over Mike English and Andy Robinson, but there was upset at the top with a new leader in Class D2 as Rob Hughes and Sean Cunniff take over top spot. Let's go on board with Jack Morton and Frank Bird to find out what happened to their lead. It sounds like he's got a bag of nothing there. Let's head over to Sam, who's with them in the service area.
Frank, Jack, just talk us through this morning, because we've not had the best stage then, have we?
Yeah, not really. We ended up breaking down. First 2 stages went really well. We had a pretty healthy lead, really, and then just going over the jump, we
did the jump, got around the corner, and then the car just died really. So, bit of a sad way to end the day really.
Yeah. What do we think it is? Because like obviously it was up right where we were stood. So you came over the jump at like 73 miles an hour. It was incredibly impressive. You did have us a little bit worried. We did run out of the way, but it looked very, very impressive. What happened?
I think it's just on the impact of the land. I think it's just broke something to do with the clutch. So everything's in gear, but the car's just not driving. So I think it's something to do with that. And hopefully the boys know what the problem is, so they know how to fix it all and everything.
Really, really unfortunate for today, obviously, but fingers crossed it won't upset anything for the future events, and it'll be a really quick fix. But Jack, what was it like from your side of the car early on?
Yeah, it was really good. As Frank said, we had a lead of just over 30 seconds after 2 stages, so we're just bedding ourselves in early on, just not pushing too crazy, and just just on the land. And after that, I think it's just the input shaft in the gearbox has just sort of failed us. So a bit of a shame, but hopefully we might be able to get it out this afternoon, because if we can get it fixed, it's better to keep on going and get points than to get like no points for this rally. So we'll see what the boys can do in a bit.
Moving on to Class C now, and the distinctive orange Ford Escort of Chris Berry and Daniel Petrie had been consistently at the top of the times, keeping the championship regulars honest. They would extend their lead by a further 7 seconds on this stage over Mike English and Andy Robinson. Here they are in the familiar turquoise Terror, and they had a great run so far, equaling the fastest time on stage 2, and they would have a comfortable 11-second lead over third. They'd retire on stage 6 though, after a problem with their differential. Kathy Stewart and Colin Stevens were up next in third place. They would have a roller coaster of a day, with car issues meaning it was anyone's guess. They'd finish the day third in class, but first in the championship points, which will give them a healthy boost going into the final round. Sliding their way into fourth place with the Ford Escort of Hughes and Anderson. They will spend very little time actually going in a straight line, and it was as if they were competition winners from the car park who just fancied a go. Michelin must love them. Next up, it's Ryan Connolly and Chris Allen in their Ford Puma. Normally, we look to them for a lot of spectacular driving, but a power steering issue would mean that they would be severely limited to what they could do and would finish the day fourth behind Kathy and Colin. John Jones and Kane Williams are running sixth at the end of the stage in their Ford Escort, just 4 seconds behind Ryan and Chris. They would run as high as fourth in class ahead of Kathy and Ryan, but they drop back to finish sixth at the end of the rally. In seventh place, it's Stephen Booth and Rob Jones in their MR2. They would gain a penalty for a jump start on stage 6 and would finish the day 11th and last in class. In 8th place on this stage was the BMW Compact of Matthew Thompson and Howard Pridmore. They'd have a great afternoon to finish 5th in the final standings. Here's championship regulars Paul Fern and Will Brown in their Lotus Talbot Sunbeam. They would finish the day in 7th place, and they were spotted on stage 5, giving the handbrake some large. Despite a small navigational issue, Darren Hughes and Keith Morris were able to get their orange Ford Focus around the stage to finish on equal time with Paul and Will in 10th place. In 11th, it was Kevin Williams and Andrew Davis in their Vauxhall Chevette. There's no danger of missing that, is there? Unfortunately, they'd retire with fuel pressure problems on stage 6. Another retirement would be championship regulars John Carroll and Adrian Lloyd in their Honda Civic. This was due to John not feeling well in the afternoon. We hope you're feeling better now, mate. 13th on this stage were Kevin Gilchrist and Harry Stubbs. They finished the day 9th overall, and behind them, finishing the day in 10th, were Mark and Joe Young in their 205 GTI. They had a technical issue on stage 3 seen here, and would take a maximum stage time of 30 minutes on stage 4. Continuing to lead the D2 class were Rob Hughes and Sean Cunniff in their Fiesta R5. They led Roger Moran and Dan Golding by 9 seconds. Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins continued to extend their lead in D1 class, going 5 seconds faster on this stage than second placed Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman. In Class B, Chris Ruck and Steve Harris had a good stage to extend their lead now by 7 seconds on Danny Davis and Liam McCallion to 21 seconds. Dion Rowlands and Kai Alcock smoked their tyres as they extended their lead by a further 2 seconds over Ron Walker and Amy McCubbin to lead by 36 seconds. Let's check in with Sam.
It's So we're here with Barry, our current rally leader. Barry, how is the morning going for you? It's clearly going quite well.
Yeah, couldn't ask for better. Good conditions, suit the car. Can't ask for more.
Yeah. People are saying that this circuit is made for the Darians. Is it? I mean, how are you finding the things like last stage we had the jump and stuff?
Yeah, it does suit us fast, it's flowing. Just a bit more knowledge will help, but it'll come throughout the day. So.
And we've lost Tom, but how are we finding it with the splits? It's quite difficult for a co-driver today, isn't it? Because there's a lot of splits. Is he keeping you right?
He's doing a good job. There's a lot going on. The swinger's moving about the page quite a lot.
He must be working really hard then. That's.
No, I couldn't ask for better.
So we're here with Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman. Guys, it's so good to have you back as well. And we've just seen you actually over the jump on the last stage. It was enough to make me run out of the way, I'm not going to lie, but it's really good to have you back. How are you enjoying today?
Yeah, really enjoying it. Stages are fast and flowing, which when we walked it this morning we thought they'll suit us. We're loving the stages. We've had a few issues with the car this morning, just more setup related, where it's been too soft. So on the quicker bends we're not getting the traction because it's lifting the wheel, but we've worked through it as the stages have gone on, and that last stage, stage 4, was spot on. So hopefully we can have a push now.
Yeah. Well, you are currently lying third overall, so you're still definitely up there, and it's going to be a good day, I think. Now it's certainly going to make things interesting in that top 3, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be good. I think we've lost a little bit of time to Rob and to Barry on the last one again. But look, they're having their own battle, so let's see where we finish up. Third, yeah, we'll have a go. It's some nice fast flowing stages this afternoon, so we'll have another go again. But it'll be hard work to catch them now. They took some time off us on the first 2, which will be difficult to catch up now, so we'll have a go.
Thanks, Sam. Let's check in on the Class A results after 4 stages. Dion Rowland and Kai Alcott continue to lead their class in the Vauxhall Corsa, but Ron Walker and Amy McCubbin were playing a strategic game and focusing on the bigger prize of the Class Championship title. In Class B, Chris Rook and Steve Harris lead by 11 seconds from Danny Davis and Liam McCallion. Mark Peterson and Jim Bowie are a further 11 seconds behind them in third. Ashley Morris is 30 seconds off the lead, but will be looking to come back through and close the gap to Mark and Chris. In Class C, Chris Berry and Daniel Petrie have a 22-second lead over Mike English and Andy Robinson. 11 seconds behind them are Kathy Stewart and Colin Stevens, and there's a close battle for 5th between Ryan Connolly and John Jones, with only 4 seconds between them. Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins lead by 16 seconds in Class D1, but Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman are not giving up, so expect this to go the duration. In third place, 1 minute and 27 seconds off the lead, are Paul Morrow and Callum Cross. After 4 stages, our new leaders are Rob Hughes and Sean Cunniff after the retirement of Frank Bird and Jack Morton. They lead Roger Moran and Dan Golding by 9 seconds, with Simon Bowen and Richard Robinson in third, 26 seconds behind. Richard Wells and Kelvin Holdsworth are 33 seconds behind in fourth and playing a watching brief. The overall standings now look very different, with Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins joint leaders with Rob Hughes and Sean Cunniff. Roger Moran and Dan Golding are third, with Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman fourth, just 16 seconds off the lead. Here's Sam with some more interviews.
So we're here with Steve Tilburn. Steve, just talk us through your morning. So we're currently running not quite where we'd expect to see you, aren't you?
No, so we've had an alternator. It actually failed on stage 1, but we got to the end of stage 1, charged the battery, didn't have time to put another alternator on, hoped we'd have enough to get us going on stage 2. But sadly didn't. So first corner we were off on the grass waiting for the end of stage. So we took a maximum. We're now back in the 60-somethings in terms of places going out on the line, and they're a lovely bunch of lads. We're having great fun. They let you by. They come and ask. They thank you for overtaking them gently, and it's fantastic. So we're hoping to get seeded probably 60-something for Donington at the back of the pack. It'll be awesome, and you're not amongst the Hodgsons and those aggressive boys up the front who are, they're no fun to be with. They never thank you for overtaking them, and we do on a number of occasions.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So have we sorted the alternator problem now? We all good to go for the afternoon stages?
Yeah, new alternators on, car's going great, so we're out having a bit of fun, see if we can just, mop up a bit, see what we can do.
Cracking stuff there from Stephen. Good to see they're enjoying themselves. Here's the plan for stages 5 and 6. The drivers will start in the pit lane on the back straight, exiting onto the circuit before coming into the paddock, working their way through a hairpin and then back out to the circuit. They'll then go up around the Army training complex 3 times before completing 2 laps of the southern part of the circuit to finish at the top of the pit lane. As stage 5 gets underway, we focus on the Class B runners, so let's join Chris Rook and Steve Harris on board as they go around the old Army training complex. This wouldn't be a good stage for the duo though, as they would finish 8 seconds slower than rivals Danny Davis and Liam McCallion. However, they were faster than all their championship rivals. They were looking good in the title battle. Flying over the bumps was the Vauxhall Corsa of Danny Davis and Liam McCallion. They would keep our championship runners honest and they would finish 3rd at the end of the day. Running 3rd on this stage were Mark Peterson and Jim Bowie. They would finish the day 2nd in class and it would be seen as a decisive event as they are now level on points in the Class B Championship. Having led the initial stages, Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish would drop back, running in 4th for the majority of the day, but they would have a stunning final stage, being the only car in class to dip into the 6-minute bracket, and with Chris Rook faltering, they would take class victory. Fifth in class on this stage were Paul Gorge and Daniel Hurst. They dropped back to 7th in class by the end of the day though, giving their title aspirations a bit of a knock. They're equal leaders, but with drop scores still to come off, it puts Chris Rook and Steve Harris in a very comfortable position. Just 8 seconds behind Paul and Daniel at the end of this stage were the championship regulars Connor Tolson and Brian Alara. They finished the day 4th in class on the road but 3rd in the championship and welcomed the 26 points that come with it. In this striking yellow Proton Persona are David Longfellow and Mark Broadhurst. They would finish this stage in 7th place, but would go one better at the end of the day to finish 6th. Here's David Forrester and Ian Nichols in their beautiful little Peugeot 205 GTI. They would finish this stage and the rally 8th in class. In 9th, it's the Citroen Saxo, Simon Matchin and Edward Hunt. A maximum stage time on stage 3 relegated them to the tail end of the order. Earlier in the day, Kevin Butler and Matthew Sims had a fiery exit on stage 1 as their engine caught fire. Also retiring were Colette Rooney and Jonathan Cragg with drive shaft issues on stage 4. Checking in with the leaders now, and in Class A, Ron Walker and Eamon McCubbin still have a healthy lead over Adam and Ray Ripper. Chris Perry and Daniel Petrie continue to lead Mike English and Andy Robinson in Class C by 15 seconds. And Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins continue to extend their lead second by second over Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman in the D1 class by now 20 seconds. Trying to make the stage just that little bit wider are Rob Hughes and Sean Cunniff at the head of the times in D2. As we look at Class A, a mistake by leaders Ron Walker and Eamon McCubbin at the hairpin leads to a time 10 seconds slower than their nearest rivals. They'd still maintain the lead though at the end of this stage, but their advantage would be halved. Coming in for an overtake here, aren't they? Oh, get in there. My word. It's quite close, wasn't it? A good stage 5 for James Hardy and Nick Wilkins moved them to within 5 seconds of Adam and Ray Ripper. They would go one better on this stage, setting the fastest time to take second place in the standings behind Ron and Amy. Adam and Ray Ripper fell to 3rd place in class during the afternoon stages, not going as well as they'd have done during the morning sessions and falling back down the order. A 3rd place finish providing very useful points for the championship aspirations. In 4th place, it's the Nissan Micra of Kay Thompson and Charlotte Wainwright. They had a solid day to record a 4th place finish and move into 5th place in the championship battle. This will be interesting to see how the points shake out after the final round with drop scores taken into account. Sadly, Class A was struck with a high attrition rate, so Andrew McAlpine and Andrew Merriford didn't even make it off the line at the start of stage 1, and they were the first retirements from the class. Rob Jones and Tony Archer were also early retirements when gearbox troubles meant they also stopped on stage 1. Total disaster. Our early class leaders, Dion Rowlands and Kai Alcock, retired on stage 5 with engine issues, but that really brought the class alive, allowing the gaps to close up. Hugh Williams and Catherine Bright were also retirements, with suspension damage ruling them out of contention on stage 6. Such a shame, because that Ford looks mint. Running in the R class with a single entry of Brindley Thomas and Tommy Williams in their Peugeot 306, they would finish the day having enjoyed themselves tremendously. Also running in the class of their own were Peter Taylor and Julia Perry in their Paul Sheard Autosport run Mazda MX-5. They were running in the E-Class, and despite a few hiccups, they brought the car home to finish the day. Good choice. Having extended their lead by 7 seconds on stage 5, Rob Hughes and Sean Cunniff were still fastest on stage 6. Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins went a further 5 seconds faster on this stage to consolidate a 25-second lead in Class D1. Chris Berry and Daniel Petrie had a brilliant stage, going 19 seconds faster than the second placed Ford Escort of Hughes and Anderson. Chris Ruck and Steve Harris were firmly back in charge, setting the fastest time on stage 6 to keep a 22-second lead over second place. Let's check in with Sam.
So we're here with Mike English. Mike, I know that we talk about your class quite a lot. It is very, very exciting, and you lot have such good banter.
We do.
Now, today, Kathy was kind of hoping that Ryan would beat you so that it stood for overall championship points. However, we're having a problem now, aren't we?
Sadly we are, yeah. I believe Kathy had an incident or a problem before and took a max or a maximum time a long time, which clearly played into our hands. But yeah, we just got out on that stage. First lap round, as a knocking noise started to appear. Thought it might be prop shaft or something like that. It sounds like it's more terminal differential, so the lads are just having a look now. So bit of blue tack, see what we can do.
Yeah, a bit of blue tack and gaffer tape. You know, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
And I mean, so it really does put the cat amongst the pigeons then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because it is all to play for again now in your class.
Well, it is. We start again at Donington.
Yeah.
You know, if that's right, I've not spoken to Kathy. If that's right, what's happened to her with her times, then she'll have dropped way out of the championship points or way down in the championship points, which was for us to take advantage of, but not to be. Not to be.
But yes, you, Ryan, and Kathy are all not having a very good day, are we?
Ryan's broken or bent some front suspension over the jump, lost his power steering. So, you know, we've all got a good solid bag of excuses today.
Yeah. Paul, Dan, you guys are currently leading your class for the overall championship points. We're at the penultimate round now. What is our game plan for the round and a half that we have left?
What our game plan is, it's really to keep consistent. We want to be in and around the top 3 if we can. We're aware that drop scores are going to come in. So Chris Ruck, in reality, unless he has a disaster, is going to be winning the championship. We'd be more than happy to finish in top 3. So consistency is our key now, really. Yeah. Yep.
And how are we finding the circuit? We've got a dry day, guys. It's dry. How are we finding it in the dry?
I'm struggling to remember the last dry round. It must have been Brands Hatch, wasn't it? Yeah, it's great to have dry and not have to run on wet tyres. Bit more grip, a little bit more sideways fun as well in the grip, which is strange. But no, I'm loving Anglesey. Nice little gravelly sections, twisty bits, and some wide open corners. So loving it.
I think I'd just like to mention as well, it's hard work for co-drivers Anglesey. There's a lot of good splits, 2 or 3 different splits going different directions. It's fun.
Cheers, Sam. Let's have a look at these rally results so far. And in Class A, sadly, we've only got 4 runners remaining, but Ron Walker and Amy McCubbin lead James Hardy and Nick Wilkins by 10 seconds, with Adam and Ray Ripper 6 seconds further back, which means we could have a very good fight over the last 2 stages. In Class B, Chris Ruck and Steve Harris have a 20-second lead over Danny Davis and Liam McCallion. Mark Peterson and Jim Bowie are only 36 seconds off the lead, with Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish 10 seconds behind them. Chris Berry and Daniel Petrie extended their lead yet again in Class C. They now have a comfortable 1 minute 19 second cushion, but the battle for 4th and 5th is very close, with Ryan Connolly and Chris Allen only 1 second off 4th place. There's that 25-second lead that Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins now have over Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman. But interestingly enough, there's only 2 seconds between Paul Morrow and Callum Cross, and Dave Allmark and Dave Tortoshell for 4th and 5th, so this could be an interesting one. In D2, there's now a 34-second gap between Rob Hughes and Sean Cunniff in 1st place, and Simon Bowen and Richard Robinson in 2nd. Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth move up to 3rd place, 41 seconds off the lead, which means they will be looking for a good maximum championship points haul. This is how the overall results look after 6 stages, and Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins have the slimmest of leads, with Rob Hughes and Sean Cunniff just 1 second behind them. Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman are now 3rd, 25 seconds off the lead, with Simon Bowen and Richard Robinson 10 seconds behind them. This is shaping up to be a very close fight for top spot. The sun's gone in, the wind's picked up, and there's a slight chance it might rain on stage 7, so let's have a look at the stage plan to see what the competitors are up against. They'll start at the top of the pit lane on the bank straight, taking 3 loops of the Army Training Base complex before doing a complete lap of the circuit, followed by 2 small loops of the southern section before finishing in the pit lane. It'll be a 5-mile blast to victory. Rob Hughes and Sean Cunniff are still top of the times in the D2 class as we head into stage 7. They have a 34-second advantage, but nevertheless, we're trying hard to extend that lead at the top of the group. Second place runners Simon Bowen and Richard Robbins were also in the hunt and recorded a time of 6 minutes and 8 seconds to match the stage time of Rob and Sean. In 3rd place were Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth in their Ford Fiesta R5. They'd only done 1 day's worth of testing and were clearly getting used to their new car, and their times have steadily improved throughout the day. They are definitely loving it out there. Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman continued to put pressure on in the D1 group, but were unable to match the fastest time on this stage. Nevertheless, they were still holding 3rd overall. Setting the fastest time on stage, going 4 seconds faster than anyone else, were Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins. They further extended their lead at the top of the class and the overall rally. In Class C, the biggest time gain come from Ryan Connolly and Chris Allen. They took a whopping 24 seconds out of their nearest rival, Matthew Thompson and Howard Pridmore, to go level on times going into the final stage. Honour is at stake. Starting to rain now, innit? Meanwhile, Kathy Stewart and Colin Stevens were consistent in 3rd with their championship aspirations looking great. Chris Berry and Daniel Petrie were leading the way and further extending their lead at the top of Class C on this stage. Going on board now with Chris Rook and Steve Harris, and you can see the rain is properly coming down now off the sea. Chris and Steve would have a brilliant stage, going 28 seconds faster than anyone else to extend their lead at the top of Class B. With the rain coming in, it played into their hands and they were enjoying a cushion of over 1 minute over the rest of the pack. Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish enjoyed a good stage, setting the 2nd quickest time and are moving to within 6 seconds of 2nd place. In Class A, Ron Walker and Eamon McCubbin regained ground, setting the fastest time in the class to restore some of the lead they lost on the previous stage. The sun was back out for the start of stage 8, and Peter Smith and Patrick Walsh showed they'd lost none of their touch by setting the fastest time of anybody on the final stage of the day. It almost come unstuck for class leaders Rob Hughes and Sean Cunniff as they had to take avoiding action into the chicane. As we follow them through the Army base complex, you can see from the extent of the front damage, they were able to finish the stage with a well-deserved result. Simon Bowen and Richard Robinson were 7 seconds slower than Rob and Sean, and despite some impressive slides, they would have to hope they'd done enough. The men on the move, though, were Richard and Calvin, as they set a time 1 second slower than Peter and Patrick, and more importantly 10 seconds faster than Simon and Richard, meaning they closed the gap and come just within 1 second of 2nd place. It might be the final stage, but Barry and Tom were not backing off, setting impressively quick times to consolidate their lead at the top of the times and take the overall honours in the rally. Chris Berry and Daniel Petrie set exactly the same stage time on stage 8 as they did on 7. They were once again quickest in class, meaning they win with a near 2-minute advantage. There would be drama in Class B though. Just listen to how that Opel Corsa of Chris Rook and Steve Harris sounds. They'd have to take a 10-minute stage time, dropping them down the order, but they would finish the stage, ensuring that their championship aspirations remained intact heading into Donington Park. Nightmare. Capitalising on this though were Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish. They would be having a blinding stage, setting a time considerably faster than their competitors to win the rally by 7 seconds from Mark Peterson and Jim Bowie. The final 2 stages were happy hunting ground for Mark and Jim as they were able to overhaul Danny Davis and Liam McCallion and consolidate their second place in the rally. In Class A, Ron Walker and Amy McCubbin were once again the quickest, extending their lead by 5 seconds and taking the class victory, their 4th win of the season. Brilliant stuff. Here's Sam with the interviews.
Mark, Neil, 3rd overall. It has been a really exciting rally to watch today. What has it been like for inside the car?
Just as exciting, to be fair. No, we've loved it. The stages have been excellent all day, fast, flowing. Yeah, just a great day, and we've given it our all as we always do. Came up short. You know, Barry and Rob have driven an excellent rally from start to finish. To be fair, they've not put a foot wrong, and we've done our best, and we end up in 3rd, which we're delighted with.
And I'm glad it's been just as exciting inside the car. Even up on the top, 75 miles an hour over the jump. I mean, that was scary for me, never mind you guys. But what's it been like being back here in with Mark? You've done better than you have last year, didn't you?
Yeah, we didn't quite get to finish of stage 1 last year, so it was much different. You moved out the way, didn't, so it was your fault really. So, no, look, we've probably the first dry rally we've had in the car. So this morning we struggled. But we've just tweaked away all day with the car and the setup, so much so that we went out and slicks on the last stage in the wet, and we're 3 seconds slower, but we're fastest by 6 seconds. So yeah, it's been good fun in the car.
Rob, Sean, 2nd overall, huge congratulations, well done. How has it been for you today?
Yeah, it's been a great day, good result. Shame about the last stage.
Yeah, I saw that.
Bit of a tired decision. Quite interesting that people's choices, but yeah, we had almost a disaster. We didn't think we were going to finish the last stage. We come to a chicane. Someone had already moved it for us. There was no room to get through, so we ended up taking the only choice and go through it ourselves. So, but then we got up to the top into the technical section, and the power steering packed in. So we ended up going the long way around on the grass, eventually getting back on, and then it just came back. So luckily we got to the end, but we did have a thought, so I said that's game over. So.
And it's been like quite plain sailing all day really, hasn't it? You know, like you've been on it all day, you've had a fab competition with Barry and Tom for that last stage, but I mean, you've got to be happy because considering where we were last year, to get 2nd overall, massive improvement, isn't it?
Yeah, considering we haven't been in the car since November together as a team, no, we came here today and we just basically wanted to have a bit of a shakedown for Northwest Stages and then just have a good crack at everyone. It was a really strong entry, and Barry really showed us, we had a really good battle, and it was just tie here, tie there, second here, second there, and it just came down to the last stage, and we've never really had luck in Anglesey for a long time, and my local events, I would just bring it home in 2nd. You know, big thanks to Rob, big thanks to the whole team, and big thanks to you guys.
Barry, Tom, you guys have had a really good battle all day today. It has been an absolute pleasure to watch and really quite exciting. What's it been like for you?
Yeah, exciting, nerve-wracking. Just glad to get a finish.
And it upset things a little bit on the last stage with the weather. That rain came from nowhere. What did we do tyre-wise for that? Because it obviously didn't affect you that much.
Well, we were on the stop line and we saw it coming in and I just thought, oh no, surely not. But no, we just reverted back to a full wet setup, super safe, wets on, wet suspension setup. And yeah, it worked really well. And he operated it mint as well, so yeah.
It has, like I say, been an absolute pleasure to watch today. You and Sean, if you weren't in their garage, they were in your garage. You seem to have had a really good battle.
Yeah, no, it was great all day. That's what it's all about. So, no, it makes it worthwhile.
Well, thank you very much. Massive congratulations, guys, and we'll see you at Donington.
Thanks, Sam. And here are the final results in Class A after 8 stages. And it's a worthy win for Ron Walker and Amy McCubbin in their Ford Puma, who finished 23 seconds ahead of James Hardy and Nick Wilkins, whilst Adam and Ray Ripper are third, 39 seconds off the lead. In Class B, it's a surprise win for Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish after Chris Rook and Steve Harris suffered that technical issue, dropping them down to 5th in the final standings. Mark Peterson and Jim Bowie are 7 seconds off in 2nd place. Danny Davis and Liam McCallion rounding out the top 3. Chris Berry and Daniel Petrie take victory in Class C, nearly 2 minutes clear of the pack. Kathy Stewart and Colin Stevens take 3rd and maximum championship points in their Talbot Sunbeam Lotus. Meanwhile, Ryan Connolly and Chris Allen finish just behind in 4th place. Here we go then, Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins taking a narrow victory in Class D1 despite having topped the times all day. Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman certainly kept them honest. In 3rd place though, Martin Hodgson and Tony Jones scored valuable championship points ahead of Paul Murrow and Callum Cross. It's Rob Hughes and Sean Cunniff in their Ford Fiesta R5 who take the D2 victory over Simon Bowen and Richard Robinson, who finished 1 second clear of 3rd placed Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth. How close is that? In the final standings, it's overall victory for Barry Morris and Tom Hutchins as they take the win by just 7 seconds from Rob Hughes and Sean Kenneth. Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman are 3rd, 26 seconds off the lead, with Simon Bowen 4th and Richard Wells and Calvin Holdsworth 5th. In the Michelin Cup, Barry Morris extends his lead at the top from Paul Murrow, who's 7 points behind. Richard Wells is now in 3rd on 346 points, with Ashley Morris moving back into the top 8 in 7th place. Mike Taylor drops down after his disastrous weekend. In the overall championship standings for co-drivers, Tom Hutchins leads the way on 349 points ahead of Callum Cross in 2nd. Calvin Holdsworth is in 3rd, 329 points he's on. Martin Haggett is 4th and Jack Tilburn 5th on 310. In the overall championship standings for drivers, unsurprisingly, it's Barry Morris who now leads the way on 347 points, 10 points clear of Paul Murrow in 2nd. Richard Wells is 3rd on 323 and Mike Taylor is still hanging on in there in 4th place on 312. Well, that's it from Anglesey. It's beautiful here, isn't it? But we'll see you again for the finale at Donington Park.